Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel Switch to Movies, and we are here today to discuss the movie review of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So let's get started. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban plots up with Aunt Marge bursting into the Dursley space as she greets Harry with a pathetic and cold choice of words, and as she intends to choose every other moment to pick upon the boy, the anger bulging within Harry is unable to restrain itself as Aunt Marge is inflated and ballooned up into the skies. Harry, on the other hand, chooses to leave the brat dwelling of the Dursleys as he rests himself under the street-lit shadows of a pavement in a deserted street, where he is fortunately rescued by the night bus that is assigned for the need of stranded witches and wizards. While Harry is being jerked at different points of the night bus, his eyes rest upon the rageous picture in the Daily Prophet as the Azkaban breakout of Sirius Black is brought upon his notice, along with the tale of his guilt of associating with you-know-who. Now, talking about the movie, I think it's really a masterful work of cinematic craftsmanship, as each scene is an impeccable portrait of an ingenious vision behind a marvelous story that breathes up an air of swiftful embroidery in its majestic canvas. Starting up with the foremost aspect of the film, which is its engaging story, as J.K. Rowling compiles upon a riveting story that is beautifully complemented and captured upon by the spellbinding screenplay of Steve Kloves. Moving up to the compelling carpentry of the film's production design, where the words commendable just fall short of its actual meritness, with the soothing scenery of the wooden bridge, the shielding space of the leaky cauldron, and the haunted wildness of the shrieking shack, all of which adds up to the strings of this staggering cinematic opus. Coming up to the music of the film, I think John Williams adds up to his own legend here as he flawlessly makes up the transition from the warming aura of the first two movies to the serenic soothness of the third film, as he effortlessly adapts to this first taste of the darker tone of the Wizarding World, as the Dementor's fouling aura, the news of Sirius sighting, and the calming composition of the window to the past makes John Williams' seeded musical soul of the first two films sprout out into a flowery plant in this third installment of the Harry Potter saga. Coming to the film's visual effects, I think this is the most visually stunning film of the series, right from the film's opening, where Harry toils up with his spellwork as he struggles to maximize his Lumos, and as his desperate attempts fructify at last, we are rolled on to the film's opening titles with its familiar fonts center staging themselves as the bright Lumos backdrops itself to the dazzling announcement of the film. The visual effects continue to engage us through the night bus's magical contraction as it transits itself between the vacant space of the Muggle vehicles, and as the high pulse of the film reels itself and settles itself into a poetic poise, we see some astounding brushwork of scenes on screen as the yellowish butterfly encircles against the unquavering backdrop, and the whomping willow addresses and announces each season as it sheds away the dry leaves of the autumn, while it shakes away the snow of the winter and yawns up itself in the wake of summer. Talking about the film's cinematography, I think the work done here deserves a standing applausion as Michael Saracen majestically lenses through the camera framework, where he perfectly highlights the flight of the hippogriff, taking us through the ride of the castle's roofs as he angles down to capture the smoothful submergement of the hippogriff's toe tips into the unwavering waters of the Hogwarts lake, as Harry's elation is beautifully captured as he opens up his arms to feel the cool breeze of the surrounding stagery, as Buckbeak picks up his flight to land him back alongside the green scenery of the forest. There are many scenes in the film that are just astounding the way they have been filmed, right from the hippogriff's flight to the dark dementors guarding the castle's grounds, to Harry learning the Patronus charm, to the throbbing thrashery of Harry and Hermione as they struggle past the whomping willow. But one that stands tall for me is when Harry stacks up the perfect Patronus beside the lake and relieves the moonlit space from the foulest gloom of the Dementors. The biggest shout out here has to go to the film's director Alfonso Cuarón as he takes the series from its prime to teens, as he beautifully explores the depths of the film's characters, where he maintains the trio's rebellious essence while remaining in alignment with what the characters truly stand for, where he terrifically stays true to the intellectualism of Hermione, loyalty of the Weasley, and bravery of Harry. The director here wonderfully carpets out the darker tone of the series as he opens up the curtains with Harry's initial sighting of the Grim and follows it up with the daunting demeanor of the Dementors, the freakish warning of Professor Trelawney, the frightful falling of Harry, and the tension-raising appearance of the Moonery. The director masterfully plays out the film's subtleness and darker mood with an unblemished synchrony, where he beautifully captures the downcast air of the scenes that sees Harry standing dejectedly against the backdrop of the pendulum sphere as the flapping wings of the owl poach past Harry, and while the sorrow of the scene rests itself into calmly with Lupin's and Harry's conversation on the wooden bridge. Professor R.J. Lupin casts upon a powerful patronus of words for Harry as he soothes upon the swings of Harry's spirits while relaying the fond memories of his parents. There are certain loopholes as well that I found with the movie, like some of the things are never touched upon, like they were beautifully done in the book and they remain unanswered in the film, like how did Sirius Black manage to escape from the demented prisons of Azkaban, and the story behind the seeding of the Whomping Willow is never touched upon, as I feel the audience deserve to know the rooted reason behind planting of the willow on the grounds of the castle, where the reason had played such a huge role in Rowling's original story. For those who have read the book, these details are cheerfully cherished by them, but for those who haven't, well, the mystery is just in sight for them for its unfoldment. I am going with 4.5 out of 5 for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. If the protagonist had been asked to not go looking for Black, as to no matter what he hears in his ongoing tracks, while the animators had indeed returned in the Shrieking Shack to finally reveal out the tale of the rotten rat, the marauder that mercilessly sold the hiding Potters.